Students, in today's class, I am going to teach you hydrological cycle. Learning objectives. To understand the status of water on Earth, to learn the basic concepts of hydrologic cycle, to study the different components of hydrologic cycle. Introduction. Water is most important elements on the earth. Water is very important, no? Without water, we are not able to live, isn't it? Everybody, plants and animals, everybody need water for survival, isn't it? Apart from drinking water, is required for domestic, agriculture, industrial purpose, etc. Water is very essential for carrying out almost all economic activities. So, water is indispensable element without which life form on the earth is not possible. Yeah, without water, nothing is possible. Isn't it? Water on the earth. About 71% of the earth's surface is covered by water. The quantity of water present on the earth is about 326 million cubic miles. It is hard to visualize this massive quantity of water. Most of the water on the earth is saline and is found seas and oceans. See this picture. The salt water constitutes 97.2% and fresh water is about 2.8%. Out of this 2.8% is available in the form of glaze surface water and the remaining 0.6% as groundwater. See here, groundwater. From this 2.2% of surface water, 2.15% is available in the form of glaciers and ice caps. 0.019% and 0.2% is remaining in other forms. Have you all understand, children? Water resources. Water resources are useful or potentially useful to humans. Water in India is available in three sources. They are precipitation, surface water and groundwater. Have you all understand? Water is available in three sources: precipitation, surface water and groundwater. Precipitation, surface water and groundwater. This is the estimate volume of water on the earth's surface. You read this. Table. You read this table. Hydrological, so now we can see hydrological cycle or water cycle. Hydrology is a science which deals with various aspects of water such as occurrence, distribution, movement and properties on the planet Earth. Hydrology is hydro means water. Hydrology means the science which deals with various aspects of water such as its occurrence, distribution, movement, properties on the planet Earth. Have you all understand, children? Hydrological cycle is a global sun-driven process where water is ever transported from oceans to atmosphere, from atmosphere to land and from land back to oceans. Yeah, from the oceans the water is evaporated and condensed as a cloud and precipitation and turns into rain. Isn't it? Evaporation. See this picture. Evaporation takes place from the surface water and transpiration from plants. Transpiration from from the surface of water and transpiration from plants. Water vapor gets condensed at high altitude by condensation, nuclei, and form the clouds. The clouds melt and sometimes burst, resulting in precipitation in different forms. You all understand? Evaporation takes place from the surface water and transpiration from plants. Water vapor get condensed into high altitude by condensation and nuclei from the form of clouds. Then the clouds melt and sometimes burst, resulting in precipitation of different forms. Apart from water from precipitation flows over the land is called runoff, and other part infiltrates into the soil which build up the groundwater. Have you all understand, children? This is the picture of hydrological cycle. So this hydrological cycle is a circulation of water. Water is from the oceans, it into condensation, turns into clouds and precipitation and as rain. This hydrological cycle is a circulation of water. It is continuous process and takes place naturally. The three important phases of hydrological cycles are evapotranspiration, precipitation, and runoff. Evapotranspiration, precipitation, and runoff. Now we can see the components of hydrological cycle. There are 6 main components in hydrological cycle. They are evapotranspiration, condensation, precipitation, infiltration, percolation, and runoff. Now we can see what is evapotranspiration. Evapotranspiration, it is defined as the total loss of water from the air through evaporation. The water is evaporates and goes to atmosphere, no? That is, it is defined as the total loss of water from the air through evaporation from the surface water bodies and transpiration from vegetation. It is cropped area. In cropped area, it is difficult to determine the evaporation and transpiration separately. So, therefore, it is collectively called evapotranspiration. The following part explains the process of evaporation and transpiration separately. Evaporation. See this picture? Evapotranspiration. Evapotranspiration. From the plants also, it's evaporate. Because of the sun's heat, it's evaporate. Plants absorb water from the soil and leaves, from the leaves it absorbs. Evaporation. Evaporation refers to the process in which liquid form of water changes into gaseous form. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius temperature, but it actually begins to evaporate at 0 degrees Celsius. And the process takes place very slowly. In 0 degrees centigrade, the process is flowing very slowly. And 100 degrees centigrade, it is heavy. It absorbs more. Evaporation is more. Temperature is the prime element which affects the rate of evaporation. We will understand, because of the temperature only the evaporation takes place. In desert it is more. In land and water areas it is very less. The temperature is the prime element which affects the rate of evaporation. There is positive relationship between these two variables. A real extent of surface water, wind, and the atmospheric humidity are the other variables which affect the rate of evaporation. In the cool climate, the evaporation is very less because of the icy mountain, etc. The temperature gets nearly 90% of moisture from the oceans, seas, lakes, and rivers through evaporation, and 10% of the moisture from plants, through transpiration. I will understand, children. 90% from ocean, seas, lakes, and 10% of moisture from plants through transpiration. Now we can see what is transpiration. Transpiration refers to the process by which the water content in plants are released into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. What is transpiration? The transpiration is the process which the water content in the plants are released to the atmosphere. We all understand? The water content in the plants are released into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. That is called transpiration. Now, what is condensation? It refers to the process in which the gaseous form of water changes into cloud form, liquid form. It refers the process in which the gaseous form of water changes into liquid form. The gaseous form of water changes into liquid form is called condensation. Condensation is responsible for formation of clouds. These clouds produce precipitation, which is the primary route for water to return the earth's surface, the water, etc. The clouds produce precipitation, which is the primary route for water to return to the earth's surface in the water cycle. The water return to the land surface again. So, the water cycle, this is very important. The clouds produce precipitation, which is primarily route for water to return to the earth's surface into the water cycle. This is the water. Now we can see what are the forms of condensation. Dew, frost, fog, mist, and clouds are the different forms of condensation. What is dew? It is a water droplet formed by the condensation of water vapor on the relatively cold surface of an object. It forms when the temperature of an object drops below the dew point temperature. Below the dew point temperature. That is dew. Then frost. The ice crystals formed by deposition of water vapor on the relatively cold surface of an object is known as frost. The ice crystals formed by deposition of water vapor on the relatively cold surface of an object, it is known as frost. It forms when the temperature of an object drops below the freezing point of temperature. Below the freezing point of temperature.